Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany Doris, and this is how to transform your teacher resume to a T. If you like what you see here, please like and subscribe below. Visit my blog for teachers to access some of the resources and tools I will be referencing in the video. Find me on LinkedIn to stay up to date on my content. This resume review is for a teacher who would like to move into instructional design. First, we're going to focus on the skills, certificates, and other sections of the resume. This is what I call the icing. It's not really required, but it sure does make it better when it's done right. But just like yucky frosting, I'd rather lose it than waste the calories. Let's dig in. All right, so let's jump into the resume review process. Before we get started, though, I just want to point out a couple of things that I'm going to be referring to on my other monitor while we are over this first resume. Everything can be accessed from my blog, and my blog can be accessed from my LinkedIn profile. So if you scroll down to a T, and it's right here, this is my blog. Normally you'd be able to click on this and it would open another window and then you can click view, but it's not working today. Once you get there, then you'll come to this page, which is all of the articles that I've written for teachers about leaving the teaching profession. Now, scrolling all the way down to the first article, which is how this all kind of got started. When I first started trying to leave the classroom, I was applying to corporate instructional design roles with my teacher resume, and I wasn't getting any hits because even though a lot of what we do in the classroom is transferable to the corporate world, much of what we do has no place in the corporate world. And we're going to look at that. And that's probably one of the things we're going to focus on the most in today's review. So if you are interested in any of the resources, they're all available on my website. I would highly recommend that you start with this article. Even though my resume is not perfect, it's a far cry from what I started with my teacher resume. The other article that I want to point out is this one called the Resume Tools. This article is really more of a list of the tools and resources that I use to help me perfect my resume, even though it's still not perfect. The one resource that I loved the most was this verbs resource. It lists tons of verbs to help you transform your resume and then breaks them down by what you're trying to show. So these are verbs that show accomplishments. These are the bullets of your resume. But then you have responsibilities, communication skills, experience, sales experience, leadership and management. So really finding the verbs here that help to clearly identify what it is that you did is the best way to say a lot in very few words. Real estate is important on a resume. So I'm going to put that on my other screen. So I'll be looking over here to look for things to help revise some of these resumes. All right, so let's get to this first resume. So the first thing that I like to do when I look at a resume is I like to take it all in one look. And I just kind of look at it, and I'm trying to do this I've looked at this one a couple of times because it took me a while to get here. But when I first looked at this resume, the first thing I looked at was the name, which is great because you want that to be noticeable. You want people to know who they're hiring. So name is always a great initial thing to look at. But then my eye automatically goes to the right-hand side. And the first thing that I'm looking at is the skills section. So let me zoom that in so you can see what I'm seeing. Okay, so I see skills, which is great. That's a great thing to kind of draw your attention to. However, the first two skills I see are Microsoft Office and Google Suite. Not exactly mind-blowing, right? Everybody pretty much who's worked in the professional world in the last 10 years knows how to use Microsoft Office and Google. So that's really not putting your best foot forward. Hey, look, I can do what everybody else can do. That's what that says to me. So yeah, it's great to leave those on there, but they really shouldn't be the first and second skills on your resume. The next three are specific to education and education only: culture responsive teaching, inclusion, and social emotional education. Nobody in the corporate world cares about that. They probably don't even know what that is. So they're going to see that like, oh, she's a teacher. I don't want a teacher. Okay. So these need to go. The third thing is engaging learning modules. That's not really a skill. That's an accomplishment. If you can create engaging learning modules, that's something that you did that is relevant to the role of instructional design. So that really needs to be spelled out as a skill. I'm sorry. That needs to be spelled out as an accomplishment under your roles. So this also, I would say, needs to go. Now, flexible in terms of being adaptable to different situations, right? Being pulled in multiple directions, being able to multitask. So while flexibility is a great skill to list on your resume and definitely something that is sought after in the corporate world, I'm not sure that flexible is the best way to describe what it is that what kind of flexibility? Are you flexible with your schedule? Are you flexible with task management? Are you flexible with being a leader or a follower or support, or what does that mean? I don't really know that flexible is descriptive enough. And if you're going to take the time to list skills, then make it worth the investment of the resume reader's time. So I just searched up resume skills, and I'll put this on the blog on the resources page also. But so some skills so adaptability, I think, is a little bit more descriptive than flexible. So that you'll adapt to every situation that you're put in. So if you're on a team, you'll work with the team. If you're in an individual setting, you can work by yourself. Work well by yourself. So adaptable, collaboration, attention to detail, all of these things are great skills to include, and I would not list every single one of these. List the things. So when you say that this is a skill of mine, it doesn't mean that you can do it. It means that you do it better than most everybody else. So for instance, when it comes to organization, that is a particular skill of mine that I do better than most people. I am a very organized, highly organized individual in my work and my personal life. So that is a skill that I often list on my resume when applicable. Being technologically savvy is another one of my skills, which is why I sought out a job at a software company, because I love software. I understand software. I know how to manipulate software. I know how to investigate software. So that is another skill that I tend to put on my resume, or try to highlight on my resume. So if you're going to have a skills section, make sure you're listing skills that are relevant and sought after at the company where you are applying. And that doesn't mean that you have to change it for every company. Most companies are looking for the same skills, which showing here on this page. But take the time to put the ones that are the most sought after, and the things that you are best at first, and then trickle down into the kind of like, yes, I can do this too. Okay. I don't even know if Microsoft Office necessarily is a skill. Maybe just computer literate, computer proficient, advanced, maybe putting your level of proficiency. I'm advanced with Microsoft Office, something like that. Okay, so back to this. So collaboration, communication, time management, all good things to have on there. Now, technology badges in progress. I understand why this person put in progress, because they're still working on them and they feel like they want to be honest with where they are, but then they have to continually update this as they get more things. I don't know what Evernote is, so I can't speak to that. My recommendation is, if you're going to list skills, do your soft skills and your technology skills in one section and group them. So group your soft skills and then group your technology skills. And as soon as you are confident that you can perform the duties of the job with that technology skill, for instance, if you're learning Storyline, as soon as you realize that you can do it, like I think I played on Storyline for 2 weeks with the free trial, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so easy. And if I couldn't figure out how to do something in the actual software, I Googled it and I found a video. Devlin Peck, by the way, is a fantastic resource on YouTube with Storyline. But I could just Google something and I could figure out how to do it, and then I could apply it. I've been doing that as a teacher for 14 years. So that's something that you're good at. Now, I wouldn't have put it on there if I hadn't ever looked at it. But after I had watched, hours of YouTube video, and I had been playing in it for a little bit, and I felt comfortable navigating my way around, and I had created some slides, then I put it on my resume as a skill. That is something that I can do. Because honestly, if you don't have it listed, a lot of resume screenings processes won't even get you through the front door without having that on there. So don't list it if you've never looked at it and you've never seen it. But if you're confident that you would be able to do the duties of the job using that tool, then list it as a skill on your resume. Okay, so that would kind of help to solidify these two sections and break it down or narrow it down a little bit. Now, I will say that the format of this resume is not ATS ready, which means that this person cannot take this resume and upload it into an applicant tracking system and have it take the information or the data off of the resume. At least it's been my experience that overly formatted resumes like this do not work. So the resume on my website that is pretty much just lines of text, my sister-in-law, who is an HR specialist, helped me create that. And I also sent my resume to a professional resume writer, and they tweaked the formatting a little bit. And that resume format does work with the ATS systems that I have used. So I'm not a huge fan of this because I feel like it's doing double work if you have to retype your resume into ATS applications. And honestly, most companies use an ATS system these days. So you can certainly have your pretty resume, this, pretty formatting, as your attached resume, and then have an upload version that is ATS compliant so that you don't have to retype everything into your resume. And if your LinkedIn profile works, or if your LinkedIn profile replicates your resume, and you're using LinkedIn to apply to jobs, then you can just usually apply with your profile. So I would also make sure that whatever updating you do on your resume, you do the same updating on your LinkedIn profile to make those easy apply jobs much easier to do. Okay, so certifications. So this is the problem that I see with a lot of teachers is they want to be like, look at all the things that I did. Look at all these certifications that I have. And I was this and I was that and I did this. No one cares. No one cares that you have a professional teacher license. That is not applicable to being an instructional designer. So if you're applying for other teaching jobs, then absolutely keep it on there. However, if you're applying to a corporate role, it does not require you to have a teaching certification. It's just extra words that's taking up real estate on your resume that you really can't afford to give up. So strengths. I don't get the letters. HSCY. I don't know does that stand for something? I don't know what that is. And it's confusing to me. I don't feel like this is the place to put this. Number one, it's at the bottom of the page. So why would you put your strengths last? I would put my strengths first. And what do you mean by ideation? Why can't you put those in as accomplishments? If they're strengths, then there should have been something that you did in your job that you could cite as an accomplishment. So I would get rid of this section also. I hope you enjoyed this video and found some tips that you can use to beef up your own resume. In my next video, I'll be tackling the executive summary. Don't forget, the job search process is hard. And if you need a little help, subscribe to my blog and submit your resume for a video review. Don't give up. You can do this.